Okay, welcome to the Be All In podcast. Today we are doing our first ever live podcast with a real audience as we're coming to you from the BaiFit athlete camp. So our athletes, like, you make some noise, people know you're real and you're here. Yeah. So there are people here, there's people in the room, but we are actually sitting down with two special guests, Peter Ellis and Daisy McDonald, both professional CrossFitters who both made their rookie appearance at the 2024 CrossFit Games last year. So welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So you make noise. It's good. Okay, so they are our two special guests that are also here at the BaiFit athlete camp. So we are so grateful to be able to train alongside them all weekend, see the ins and outs of how they go about workouts, their warm-up routines or some non-existent warm-up routines, all the ins and outs of them as athletes, and we are so excited to sit down and really pick their brains and ask them more about their CrossFit journey and get our audience to also ask some questions to them. So I'll start with my first question. How old are you both and where are you from?
I'm 22 and I'm from the Blue Mountains.
I'm also 22 and I'm from the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria.
Nice. You're both so young. It is crazy to think how much you've achieved at 22 years old. It is crazy. I feel old around you both. So when did you both and how did you both get into the sport of CrossFit, and I guess how long have you been doing it for?
I got into it in the back end of 2018, so I've done it for about, this is my 7th year now doing CrossFit. And I think I got into it, my coach when I was playing footy at the time just said, hey, you should try this out, you might be pretty good at it. And honestly, here we are.
Yeah, that's crazy. When did you stop playing footy? I'm sure you regretted it eventually.
No, to be honest, when I started CrossFit, I kind of got addicted to that. And I'm like, okay, I want to go for this.
Yeah, that's insane. Daisy, what about you?
I've been doing CrossFit for 5 years and I finished up gymnastics competitively, and my mum and my brother both did CrossFit, so it just seemed like the perfect fit to fill that hole. And then soon enough I liked it a lot more than I ever liked gymnastics.
I know, it's crazy to think once you start, you continue this sort of snowball effect, and a lot of our members at the gym, they're in the process of chipping away at this thing and seeing you guys as the end goal. So what program do you currently follow, and how much are you training to be the athletes that you are right now on a week-to-week basis?
I currently am following my coach's program, Matt Riley. He does a pretty personal program for me, and I've been with him pretty much since I started CrossFit. And how much am I training? It varies throughout the year depending on what I'm trying to work on. If I'm more strength focused, or I guess if I'm leading to the season, I'm going to start ramping up the workouts and things like that. But I'm normally in the gym 4 hours a day, and then more so maybe 6 hours a day leading to competitions.
I forgot the first question. I had previously been doing Mayhem Compete, just the generic program, and then recently have found an individual coach through Mayhem, Jake, and he has been helping me dial everything in and make it super specific to what I need to work on, which has been awesome. And then I think I'd probably say similar to Pete, probably 4 hours split up into 2 sessions, and then a bit more when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah, that's an insane volume. And for those who don't know, I guess, CrossFit and the sport of it that are listening alongside, it's really cool that you both have had a very similar trajectory, I guess, since you've started, 5 years ago. So you both competed at local competitions, then you progressed and both did Down Under before you made Tour In. Is that the first competition you both did, the professional one?
No, I qualified for Tour In my first year, and then I did Down Under afterwards. So my first year at Tour In, I wasn't, I was just excited to be there, but I didn't place right up there. I ended up 20th that year, which at the time was amazing. And then I did Down Under, and then I came 3rd, and then that's when I really thought, okay, I can be, I've always wanted to be competitive in it, but then that's when I'm I can do this. If I dial in, I can do this. And then I kept progressing and doing quite well from there.
Yeah, and then the next year at Tour In, what did you come the year after?
Then I was 5th at Tour In the following year, missing out by the games by 2 spots. And then I won Down Under the end of that year. And I'm okay, all chips in this year. End up qualifying for the games, which was amazing. And then I went repeat back-to-back at Down Under this year as well.
Yeah, that is wild. What about you, Days?
I was sort of a year behind Pete. So I think, when did you first make Tour in 2022?
2022, yes.
Yeah. So in 2022, I did Down Under, individually, and that was like so cool to be there. And then the year after, it was the goal to make Torian, and same thing as Pete, it was just like I was happy to be there. I think I came 18th, and then went to Down Under again, came 5th, and I was like, oh, this is cool, like maybe I can make the games next year. And then obviously this year at Torian that happened.
That is so cool. And so Torian is the Oceania CrossFit semi-final. So to make the games, the process of how it works, we always have to explain this to people. So I don't think people fully comprehend how difficult it is, because we always say, like, in an AFL list, there is like 40 players. And then how many AFL teams are there in Australia? Like, what are we up to, like 16 AFL teams now? Anyway, a lot of players that are getting paid professional dollars. Whereas you guys, there's thousands of people worldwide that do the Open. And then the system has changed a little bit now, but roughly the top 40 in Oceania, or 30 this year, make that Oceania semi-final, and then only 2 or 3 move on to the games. And the games is between the top 30 and 40, pretend, whatever year it is, which is just a wild statistic of how fit you actually are. And then you both made the games last year. How was the experience of, I guess, making the games, and what was that whole tale like for you both?
Making the games was unreal, because like you think about it and like that's all you want, and that's like fueled all my training for a long time. So making it honestly felt surreal. It didn't feel real to me. I didn't think it was real until I was getting onto that plane to go over to America or the States, and I was actually there training. I'm like, wow, like this is actually, I'm living my dream, which to be honest, like I don't think many people can say.
Yeah. What about you, Jace?
I think Pete said it pretty well. I don't really know what else to say other than that fact, but it was an incredible experience. The whole time over there was awesome. Obviously, the circumstances of the trip were unfortunate, but it was bloody cool, and it definitely put fire in me to make it happen again and again. So yeah.
And you both were lucky that you got to go over and have 2 really cool experiences training at 2 of the biggest training camps in the States. So Pete, where did you head over to?
So I went to Nashville to train at the Proven facility, and leading up to the games, I was on the Proven program as well. So I got to train with Tia and Jay and Mads. I'm quite good friends with Jay and Mads, so they said come over, train with us, and that was unreal. And to be honest, training with Tia, which has obviously been the best in the sport for like the last decade or whatever, that was crazy.
Yeah. What about you, Jace?
I was also in Tennessee, but in Cookeville at CrossFit Mayhem. So sort of on the other side, with Rich Froning, obviously. He's not training, but he is the leader of the ship. And that was bloody cool. They had so many games athletes there that we got to train with, and we did a cool games simulation before we left. That whole 2 weeks was a awesome trip in itself, and then you got to go on to actually compete at the games after that too.
And it's so good that you got to meet people beforehand. Who were some of the people at Mayhem that you were in the training camp with?
There were so many. I did a lot of my training with Roman Krenikov. He was awesome, took me under his wing. There were so many more. Why am I blanking? Guy. There was Victoria Campos. There was, I don't know, I've gone blank.
That's okay. So many more, because Mayhem has an insane amount of athletes. And so then the games experience obviously was tainted by obviously all of the tragedy around it. But in general, how did you find it apart from that sort of fact?
Yeah, the games itself was a little bit, it was hard to focus with everything someone passing away in the very first event. And I think I went out there and I did the best I could under the circumstances, but it did not feel the same. It was hard to celebrate being there when such a tragedy had struck. I definitely enjoyed touring and actually qualifying the games a lot more. I don't think anyone there really could say they had a great year at the games, because it was just such a devastating thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say what it was really like, because we both never experienced the normal games per se. I still enjoyed being there, and I still had a good time. But it definitely was strange.
Yeah,
you didn't really know. Yeah, exactly. You couldn't really celebrate anything. You just it was I don't really know where to step or where to look at. I'm just gonna try my best, and yeah, it was definitely strange.
Yeah, and we feel you both carried yourself so well, from being able to watch online and how you did it all. It would have been so difficult, but you did such a great job. And then looking forward to the next 12 months, what are your goals? There's a lot of change within the sport of CrossFit, a lot of different competitions popping up. Pete, what does the next 12 months look like for you?
So my goal is obviously to make it back to the games, and honestly, just to keep showing up. I'll go to the gym, I'll train as hard as I can, I'll do everything I can to be the best athlete I can in the sport of CrossFit, and I'll show up and I'll see how far I can get this year. Like obviously my goal is to do better than the previous year before me, but yeah, like the future's so unpredictable, like anything could happen. I could get injured tomorrow because this afternoon, so I guess...
Let's not put that out there.
Yeah.
I don't know, stranger things have happened, but again, just to keep showing up and doing the best I can. Like, I'm surrounded by great people, and I feel like that's sort of the key to being happy in life, and then if I keep working hard, things will just keep on happening for me.
Yeah. Daisy, what about you?
Yeah, I'm similar. Like, definitely my goal is to make it back to the games this year. It's kind of uncertain how the season's going to go. I think if it was the same as last year, I'd be a bit more certain about how I could go about it. But given there's less spots and different ways to qualify, it'll definitely be interesting. But I'm so motivated to get back there. So
that's so cool. Yeah. Have you both thought about the World Fitness Project if you're going to do any of those qualifiers?
I believe they're on similar weekends to like the online qualifiers for the games. I haven't looked into it too much, but potentially in the future, I would be interested in doing it. Like for us as athletes, the more options we have, the better. So definitely will be something I look into in the future, but for now, I'm going to just keep focused on the games.
Yeah,
I might give it a crack. I definitely won't do the first one because it sort of interferes with that Torian weekend, which is probably going to be my best chance at making it back to the States. But I think the ones later in the year, I may as well give it a crack. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, now we're going to kick to our audience who are able to watch, and I know some people have thought of questions. So who wants to kick us off with a question for these two legends? All right, Zoe, you're on.
What's the sleep schedule like?
My sleep schedule is pretty similar. Like I go to bed like 11 o'clock most nights, and then I kind of let my body sleep. I'll cut it off. I normally get up at the latest 8 o'clock or 8 a.m. in the morning, but sometimes I wake up earlier, and I do like very much, when I wake up, I like to get straight up and go about my day. So whatever that time may be, I like to get straight into it, but I do like to get as much sleep as possible because it is proven the more good sleep you get or the more sleep you get benefits performance.
Yeah.
Mine kind of varies a lot. Depends on what I have to do in the morning. If I have work, then I'll get up for that. But if I have nothing on in the morning, I'll sleep in for as long as possible. And I feel like people say you should have like a same bedtime, same wake up time. And like, I don't know if that works for you, that's great. But if one night I can sleep for 10 hours and other night I sleep for 7, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's whatever works.
I love it. All right, next question. Let's roll it away. Gatesy, you're on.
Thanks for being here. I'm curious, like strength and technique play a major part in any sport, and what I'm really curious about from both of you is mental strength when it comes to being on the floor by yourself. It's you and the workout. What do you do to help prepare yourself mentally for those huge challenges of workouts, and then also persevere to get through the best way possible?
So personally, I find competition, I'm very motivated to do as good as possible, and I will go into that dark place because it's competition. Like it's now or never. It's very mentally, it's very stressful, and honestly, I feel nauseous when I'm going into a competition. So that's hard. But in terms of motivating myself to push myself to the limit, I feel like that's a lot easier in competition. Where it's harder is when I'm in the gym alone, training alone by myself. And you still got to go to that same intense place. So when you get to competition, you can perform. So I guess that's what I have to say on that subject.
I think my answer is really similar in the sense that in a competition, I find I do my best. When I'm nervous, when I have pressure, I tend to not think about it. But I get super nervous. But I know as soon as that buzzer goes, it all just disappears and you just go into that space. But I think, as Pete said, the hardest place mentally to push is actually just when no one's watching. So if you can do it then, you can do it out on the floor for sure.
I'll follow up on that question because another one I had. I know you both have very unique mindsets about these high stress situations. Like, what are the mantras that you go to, like before you hit a big lift or any time that you know you have to perform? What is the self-talk that you repeat to yourself?
I'll take out the swearing, but like I normally just like, how bad do you want this? Like, and I'll just repeat that to myself again and again. And normally that G's me up and I'll go anywhere I have to get the job done.
Yep.
In the competition setting, I tend to not have to tell myself anything if it's a lift, because I think the fear of like failing and like not hitting the lift like makes me hit the lift even more, if that makes sense. So like I'm like looking up into the crowd, I'm like, oh, how embarrassing would it be if you like just didn't lift the bar? And like that in itself is like enough to make me do it.
So
I don't know if that's a good thing, but
anxiety. Okay, next person. Any more questions in the crowd? Take her away. Az, you're on.
When you were like in the process of not being in the games yet and you were still working a full-time job at training as best as possible, what was that process like of like doing an 8 or 10 hour day of work and then training? Like how did you find the best way to manage that?
At the time, I guess the process was, it was all I knew. I knew, like, I got up, I worked my 8-10 hour day at plumbing, and then I went to the gym and I trained. And looking back, I'm like, wow, how did I train so fatigued from work? Because now I'm training, I'm waking up, I'm absolutely fresh, I'm ready to go, I can hit bigger numbers more regularly and things like that. But back then, all I knew was, like, wake up, work, eat, train, sleep. And, like, I guess at the time, like I just managed it the best I could because that was the only option I had.
Yeah.
I've never really done physical work. Like I've never been a tradie or anything, so I don't know how that feels, but I did do a chunk of my training and especially games training doing placement for uni as a physio, and that was definitely mentally draining, just being a slave to the hospital all day and then coming and training. But I think it's important to just set your routine, know when you're going to train, and you know, like, if I don't get up now and train, I probably won't get the chance to do it at all today. And I think you just, if you want it enough, you just do it. You just make it happen.
Yes, Danny, you're on.
Who looks after your nutrition, or how do you do that?
It's all about nutrition here.
I don't have a strict diet.
What did you have for lunch? Tell us what you had for lunch.
I had the grilled chicken wrap from Macca's, which I consider to be pretty healthy. But honestly, the way I think about it is I eat to train. I make sure I have something before training to fuel it, and then have something straight after training, or at least once I feel hungry again after the session. I kind of lose my appetite after I do a hard workout, something like that. But I just got to be constantly, when I'm not working out or I'm not doing something, I need to be eating throughout the day, whatever that may be. Like if it's a nice healthy chicken wrap, great. If it's Snickers bars, it is what it is. But like as long as I've got fuel in me and I'm like loaded up with carbs and sugars and stuff like that, I feel like my energy is high and I can keep excelling in the gym.
Last year I had a bit of help from Mon from, I think, her Instagram's Fueling Performance, and she was super helpful in just making sure I was eating enough. But I think the biggest thing I learned from her is just eating like throughout your training. If you're here for 2-3 hours, it's so important to like eat throughout, otherwise you just can't train as intensely as you could have been able to if you had been eating.
Awesome. Okay, anyone else? Next questions.
What kind of stuff are you doing outside the gym for mobility, recovery, all this nonsense?
Look at Pete's most recent post. He's got a mobility routine.
So, I don't know about this one.
Maybe we'll just skip Pete.
My main source for recovery is sleep, and my mobility routine would be lifting heavy.
All right, Daisy, what about you?
I'm not really much better, but I try and see the myo like once every 2 weeks. Like, it is expensive, but I feel like if you're putting your body through so much, you should try and invest into yourself to like get that body work done and feel good. And then I just try and do a little bit of stretching after I train. But as Pete said, I'm 22. Just lower the bar.
Okay, next. What else we got in the crowd? Yep, Smitty.
I feel a little bit targeted here, but yes, I do drink.
But how do you, okay, this is a great question then. So you do drink alcohol, and again, we're 22, it's a very normal part of life. How do you balance that then with training and still achieving your goals?
So, yeah, like when I have a goal and I have a competition coming up, yes, I'm not drinking then. I'm not going on a bender the week before a competition or anything. But like after spending 2 or 3 months training as hard as I know personally how to, or pushing myself as hard as I can, like you're mentally, no matter who you are, you're mentally drained. You're a little bit mentally gone. So to go out after the competition, meet up with some of my friends I haven't been able to see for months and have a couple beers or a few espresso martinis helps me relax.
Yeah. Days, what about you?
No.
So good, so good, so good. Okay, anyone else? What other questions we got? Yeah, go Gatesy.
When you think about people you sort of look up to that motivate you, inspire you, who would they be?
2 people, probably my coach. He inspires me just from how he conducts himself every day and in life. Just always has a positive attitude, and even when stuff is going wrong, he always shows up, does what he needs to do, and always is there for me, no matter what. So he's someone I look up to just because of how he conducts himself. And then my parents would be another one.
I'll just say my mum. If anyone's ever met her, she is like the biggest fitspo ever. I think she's 56 now. She's run marathons. She's competed for New Zealand, like doing horse riding, and now she's like a big CrossFit frother. And I would love to have my legs look as good as hers when I'm 50.
So good. Okay, next one. Any other ones from the crowd? Bailey, you got any? Oh no, who we got in the back?
What's obviously your last moment so far in career is making the game. But what's something besides that that you most prepare yourself?
I'll be honest. Like I'm proud that I keep showing up. Like I guess it's hard at times. Like there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of pressure, or at least more than anything, I put it on myself to perform. And like I've wanted to quit. Every year I want to quit. I'm done after I compete or something. I'm done, but after I don't know how to explain it, but like just despite that, it's like no, I'm gonna persist and like keep showing up with this and see where it leads. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I've got the rest of my life to figure out what else I want to do. But for now, like how bad do you want it, basically?
Yeah, so good.
I would say my biggest achievement last year was just getting through uni. It was like all placement, and then like still being able to do CrossFit and excel in that on top of that. But yeah, it was a busy year, but it was definitely worth it. And I start a job on Tuesday, so it's exciting.
That is exciting. So you're going to be a physio girl, so we'll make sure we put where you're working so people can go get treated by Daisy McDonald.
If you're in Victoria.
And you're in Victoria. Bailey, got one? I know you're ready.
When you got into the sport, what was your biggest weakness? Structure training to overcome those weaknesses, those holes?
So my biggest weakness was definitely my strength. And I've just had to, at times, completely cut out working out and just focus on that lifting and, yeah, like you just got to like prioritize the best you can. And, yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, I think everything was a weakness when I first started, but I guess my strength has been a slow process and it still is going to this day. But, yeah, you just got to prioritize it and you got to sort of put some stuff to the side. Like I know I'm good at my gymnastics, so I might not do gymnastics for 3 months, but I know it's still there. But I've got to like dial into that strength stuff and believe that my gymnastic skill is going to maintain itself?
My biggest weakness was and still is my upper body pressing. Like, I don't know, as much as I do, it still doesn't seem to get much better. It's just been a very slow process. But I think, I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but hopefully you can. I used to like avoid things that I was bad at because I would be nervous of like other people watching me and being like, wow, that's so embarrassing. But I learned that, and I look back on it and I go, wow, I shouldn't have spent 2 years like avoiding doing those movements. But I think how I've progressed in that is just like seeking guidance from other people who know a lot more than me on those sort of things, and really just, prioritizing those movements and putting them first at the start of your training when you're the most fresh, so you can really put everything you have into working on that weekend.
Oh yeah, let's finish with our favorite question. Pete, what does be all in mean to you?
Honestly, like just showing up to the gym every day and giving your absolute all. Like, you don't have to feel like it, but I mean, CrossFit is a intensity-driven sport, so you've got to show up, and even when you don't feel like giving that intensity, I guess, you just got to go for it anyway. You've got to treat every workout like it's the last workout of a competition and someone wants to take your spot from you. Like, be all in. It's like everything you have. You should be able to lie on the floor after workout and be like, I could not have given 1 ounce more, like a bit of effort into that workout. I've done everything I can. Every rep I've squeezed out of that workout. Yeah, I guess that. Just be proud of yourself. Be proud of your effort. Pete
is very be all in as a human. I think you really
I am very be all in everything, good or bad. I'm just, if you're going to do anything in life, I think you should do it 100%. Like, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to max out, I'm going to do everything. I don't care if I get injured, but I don't want to half-ass it and then fail knowing I didn't give it my all. I would rather get injured in the pursuit of greatness than be cautious and never get there in the end.
Yeah, so good. He's an animal. Go do your animal noises later. We'll do that off podcast. So thank you to everyone who has listened in person and those who listen online. You can follow our Be All In podcast. You can download it. You can give us a comment. And thank you so much to Pete and Daisy for being here with us. We appreciate you so much and excited to watch you max out your clean this afternoon. That's the plan. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Wow.